that we're in for an absolutely unbearable next 4 years, I thought I would talk about what I would do if I were president. I've actually wanted to make this video for over a month, but since yesterday was the inauguration, I guess this is perfect. One quick announcement: I'm making my modern day debate debut this Friday. Grayson and I are debating two people I've never heard of on Is Christianity True? Not really something I would actually want to debate, but I didn't really get much of a choice. I'm trying to get in that door, and they offered this, and so I just figured, well, yeah, let's take it. I'm going to make one thing very clear. I have put almost no thought into any of these ideas. So don't, by all means, in the comments, talk about how stupid some of them are or how they wouldn't work, or oh, that's actually a good idea, but it probably wouldn't work for this reason, that reason, whatever. Don't come at me. I have not spent a lot of time thinking about any of these. Some of them I have, but for the most part, no. Problem number one is I'm going to fix the border and immigration. So the main problem with immigration is all the asylum seeking, because that gets backlogged because there are so many people coming in. And then there's a question of, okay, well, what do we do with citizenship for this? And how do we triage people that are just fleeing here seeking asylum versus people that are going through the normal process, so on and so on and so forth. I have this solution. We turn a thin strip all along the US-Mexico border into a giant city. Kind of like what Saudi Arabia is doing with the line or whatever that's called, but ours won't be a straight line. That will be a city. We can call it something. I don't know. You guys come up with the name. I haven't thought about that. And it'll just be a place where people make shoes and cell phones, and we get to completely screw over China this way. It's cheap labor that's local, and we're giving people a better life than whatever they were running away from. And we could put it so we don't have to do eminent domain or whatever. We could buy the land from Mexico, but technically it's still Mexico, so it's on the Mexican side of the border, and just turn it into a city there. And then we'll have trade relationships with it. Manufacturing, trade, screw over China, take care of the immigration thing. They can it's kind of like a remain in Mexico thing, but again, the reason they're running away is to try to get a better life, and they get a job, and they're going to stay in Mexico where people probably speak the language that they're speaking. It's perfect. Next, we're going to fix corruption here in the United States. So the first thing we're going to do is triple the salary of every member of Congress. They do kind of have to have two houses, and Washington, D.C. is expensive to live in. Now, along with that, if anybody serving in Congress accepts any money ever at any point, then they're banned from holding public office forever. Now, you may be thinking, wait a minute, but don't they have PACs to run for, they have to have funding to run for office, so on and so forth. I'll deal with that in a little bit because that extends also to the president here, but that'll be the rule. Now, they are free to make money, they publish a book deal or something like that. That's fine, but no accepting any amount of money from anybody at any point in time ever. I'm going to do what Doge will never accomplish and fix sort of the bloated defense spending budget at least. So defense spending will only be approved for what the Pentagon can account for. So they've failed every single audit they've ever had. If they do an audit and they only can account for 40% of the spending, then next year they only get 40% of whatever the approved budget is. In my head, I'm thinking, well, they'll just label everything as classified, and then they don't have to tell you what it is, so they'll get the money anyways. I'm sure we'll figure something out. Okay, next. No political advertising on radio or television whatsoever. And every single candidate, this is for a House seat or any member of Congress, and for the presidency, mandatory 3 debates. I'm so sick of the incumbency problem. It's insane. A guy like Mitch McConnell has like a 3% approval rating, but it's impossible for him to ever lose. And that's because the incumbency just makes him the default position. So no, you're not allowed to do any political advertisements, and you have to do 3 debates. But how are people supposed to know who they're voting for? Well, I don't know how it works in other states, but here in California, it's like a giant newspaper type document that lays out every single thing that you'll be voting for. So we could put the candidates in there, but they do have to do the 3 mandatory televised debates. So that's the only chance you can make to give your position. Now, if you want people to know more about your positions, then you have to set up a website or make a YouTube channel, something that you can do for free that anybody has access to at any time. You don't have to be watching your local Fox station to see the advertisement. I did once have this idea that you can't do negative ads, or a political opponent cannot create an ad about their opponent, because what I'm also sick of seeing is people literally don't campaign. It's mostly Republicans. They don't campaign on doing anything. They just campaign on the other side is bad because they don't have any plans for anything. And, well, that's not true. They do, but all the things they have plans for, they know are wildly unpopular, like nationwide abortion bans and gutting Social Security and things like that. So they don't talk about what they're going to do. So I thought, to make it more honest, you can't talk about the other person. But then I just sort of thought, well, then some psychopath could consolidate power and then they can't be criticized. So that doesn't work. We are going to have age limits. The age limit will be 70. You want to hear something wild? Bill Clinton was elected president, 32 years ago or something like that. He was elected president 32 years ago. He's younger than both Biden and Trump. All right, something else that'll be an accomplishment that Doge never will, and something that can make people on the left and right happy at the same time. We're going to have universal basic income. It'll be something like $500 or $1,000 every month to every person, starting from birth. You can't access your UBI funds until you're like a legal adult, but that will replace all of Social Security, disability, etc. Hell, we could even get rid of Pell Grants like for college if we do this. Will it work? Absolutely, it will work. I can't see anything wrong with this. Nobody can use your UBI. It's not like a child tax credit, and it's not like food stamps or anything like that. The parents don't have access to their own children's UBI. Only they do, and it's in a fund that they can't access until they're an adult. Next policy, my most radical policy, tax 99% of wealth above $100 million. Next, more advertising stuff. No ads for any pharmaceutical drug at any point. Not online, not on TV, not on radio, nothing. People are dying in droves, and it's because of whoever that family that started recommending everybody just take hydrocodone or whatever it was. This next one was inspired by Luigi. Every insurance provider must state at the end of their commercials what their denial rate is. That would be hilarious. It's like you have to list the side effects. You have to say this is a paid sponsorship or something like that. So insurance companies, they have to say what the denial rate is at the end. My next policy would be that every working age adult has to substitute teach once every 5 years. So you can see just how bad teachers have it. Or more seriously, just so people have a deeper connection and can see more seriously how important education is, and maybe a little bit on how education works. Education is not nearly valued enough in this country, and I think this would be an excellent way to do that. You would get paid for it, whatever the substitute rate is for the school district or whatever. You could opt out. It would be just a really small fine, like $100 fine or something like that, maybe even less than that, like a $20 fine. You'd obviously have to pass a background check and all of that good kind of stuff. Next one. I'm actually so pissed about this one because Donald Trump has talked about it, but I've had this idea for a while, but it's also not my idea. I got it from Malcolm Gladwell, and it's not really a book, but he put out this thing called I Hate the Ivy League, and he railed against these incredible endowments that these Ivy League schools have of just in the tens and tens of billions of dollars. So what I would do is I would tax the largest endowments of the biggest schools 1% every year. And then what I would do is I would give that to the lowest income or lowest achieving schools, just kind of unilaterally. I mean, that could be some small JUCO somewhere in the South getting like $1 million. That would be incredible. Now, you'd have to set it up so that, because what would be crazy if these schools design themselves to fail so they can reap in money. So it could be something like you're not eligible for it if test scores don't improve year over year. You can't get it more than 1 year every 10 years or something like that. But that's what I would do. For public education, I would do something like the schools are funded by property taxes, which in a way kind of becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy of mediocrity for a lot of disadvantaged areas. So I would do something like take 1 to 5% of all the property taxes that are collected and just pool that, a small chunk of it, and then it gets allocated equally to all schools. So it's kind of like a universal basic income kind of idea. Like the way you get the UBI money is you tax every person's net wealth, let's say like 0.1% every year or something like that. For most people, that's nothing, but for people with fabulous wealth, it's a huge amount of money, and then everybody gets $500 or $1,000. As part of the Make America Healthy Again initiative, I would make it so that all drugs, all food additives, things like that, they must be proven to have no negative side effect. The way it works with a lot of things is they're approved, and then you have to prove that the chemical or whatever caused harm in order for them to be accountable. And I just don't think that that's right. You cannot force people to agree to not enter a class action lawsuit. That'll be a new rule. I cannot believe the way that companies are allowed to do that. It's absolutely insane. And the very last thing that I had on my bolted list of random political shower thoughts that nobody should take super seriously, but I do think that they're all kind of good ideas, is no more gerrymandering. I don't have the alternative fix for that, but we're just not going to gerrymander. There. Those are my ideas. If you don't like them, that's fine. Lots of people are wrong, and you can be wrong too. It doesn't hurt my feelings at all. See you tomorrow.